Look, are you still teaching kata out of a notebook or a book or a video set? We're going to look at why that isn't the best way to go. In this one, we're going to talk about making sure that you can keep your traditions, like using shingita, using shuhari, and all the old materials that you have through a modern framework so your students retain that information longer. All right, you see what we did there?
We reminded you of a very plausible situation.
Look, you could imagine that really happening, right? You're going to be in front of a group of students teaching. We want you to do that same thing for your students. So here's the thing. Like we know that people are trying to teach and they just don't know what to do with it because there's the eco, you balance the randori, you balance the absolute historical accuracy, and people don't even know how to teach any of them.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of old school PTSD coming back even from the 1980s when none of this information existed at all. As far, at least in the United States, we had a handful of kata.
Oh, anything was gold.
Anything was gold. When the videos first started coming out, we couldn't even believe it. I was in college and we're just like watching these over and over and over again, taking notes. We would ask our teachers, what do we have? What can we do in practice on our own? It was always practice kihon happo, a million times a day, and these types of things. And so we've always just been craving like what to do exactly. And so as soon as we got our hands on books and notes and videos, it was just a natural progression. Like just do all of this, and then it was followed up with perfect practice makes perfect. And so we were trying to do things, perfectly, but we didn't have a teacher to give us feedback. And then when we did have a teacher to give us feedback, they didn't always have a teacher right away to give them. They had to go to Japan or some of the senior teachers traveling around the United States. So it was this vicious cycle of just trying to, do what was written on the page.
Yeah. This is one of those things that if people recognize, oh, I could be in that situation, then they can really dive in, buy into it. Yeah. So by believable context, it doesn't mean that they can absolutely see them in that situation tomorrow afternoon. I enjoy spear versus sword or short change or all the cool flexible weapons. I have no reason to believe that tomorrow that's going to happen to me, that I'm going to be walking through downtown Las Vegas with a spear in one hand and a sarigama in the other, and a horde of swordsmen are going to attack me. That's not it. No one's going to make me believe that.
Yeah, right. If you're an instructor, you've probably, as a student, have been in this situation, dozens, hundreds of times where you show up to class and the teacher says, do this, do that, and do the other thing. And then, so now you pair up with a partner and you just do this for 30 minutes with no context whatsoever.
Zero. Just random movements.
Right. And so you find yourself coping, right? You find yourself with copium. You realize, I know this is going to go somewhere. I know this is going to go somewhere someday. And then you end up, making up excuses for yourself. Well, I just have to do this because my teacher says it and I trust my teacher. And so we're just going to do this for the next 30, 45 minutes with no context whatsoever.
And I think that's my favorite thing is to have pre-framing. Oh, this makes sense. All right, now we see why we're doing this.
Yeah.
Not a someday, maybe I'll make sense of it thing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what are some of the benefits of having context, right? When you can place yourself in a realistic situation or a historical situation, if you're able to think in those terms, something that brings up emotion, a reason, a why we would do this in the first place, there's a lot more buy-in from students and instructors just all collaborating.
Yeah, it's more fun too. So if this is going to sound weird. If you were gardening, you'd have, I don't know what, a shovel, a rake, a watering can, a trowel, a weeding tool, because they're all different phases of tending to a garden. If you want good product or good, crops, you have to have the different phases addressed properly. You teach the martial arts class. There's going to be some warm-ups. There's going to be some historical kata. There's going to be some self-defense. There's going to be some randori. There's going to be maybe some mobility or flexibility work. If you had one way of teaching, it's like you have only a watering can, but you got to dig a hole. Or if all the metaphors there. If you think, I've got this one tool, it's the only way I'm going to use it, or it's the only tool I'm going to use, well, the different parts of your class are going to suffer. So in this case, we're looking at, we want to be able to teach kata well. It's not the same as teaching randori or teaching warm-ups or teaching self-defense skills. So appropriate tools for the appropriate need.